You don't need magic to disappear for a while, because Firestone tires were built for ticking off mile markers. Firestone Destination LE3 tires. For 70,000 miles of exploring. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Matt Jensen grew up in the industry under the guidance of his father, W.R., who founded Jensen Tire Auto in 1973 with his wife. In the mid-90s, Matt bought out his father's share of the business and focused on its growth in Omaha, Fremont, and Lincoln, Nebraska. In 10 years' time, he took Jensen Tire from 10 locations to 21. Throughout the years, Jensen Tire has stayed true to its mission of maintaining long-lasting relationships with friends and neighbors who seek out their products and services. Today, Matt's sons, Mike and Nick, have joined the business in leadership roles. Mike serves as Vice President of Operation, and Nick as Vice President of Retail Operation. As Matt transitions more duties to his sons, he looks to grow Jensen Tire's footprints in the surrounding areas. Welcome to Johnny G and Friends. I'm Johnny G, and on today's podcast, we're joined by a longtime friend, Matt Jensen, President and CEO of Jensen Tire and Auto in Omaha, Nebraska. Matt, welcome to the show.
This is great, Johnny. I really appreciate the invite. I really do. And you look great. I remember you at the Bridgestone conferences wearing the purple suits and everything else. And from what I understand, after you did that, there was a run on those purple suits that you couldn't find them anywhere in the country.
I know. There's a long story on that one, but thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Those are great memories.
Yes, they were.
So, Matt, you're second generation tire dealer. Your dad, W.R., remember him well, started in business in 1973. Tell me how he started in the industry and how Jensen Tire and Auto was established.
Well, I'll tell you, he graduated from the University here of Nebraska. His first job after graduating was working for Goodyear. He was a store manager at our Fremont, Nebraska store that we still have today.
Oh, so great.
He started as a store manager back in those days. He always talks about it. Store managers at that time, Johnny, they had to wear top hats. And wherever they went, they had to wear top hats. They had to have sport coats and they had to have white shirts. This was one of Goodyear's policies. But he started in Fremont, Nebraska at one of the locations that we have at this point in time. From that point on, what he did is he traveled all over the country, as you probably done with Bridgestone Firestone. I think by the time I was in fifth grade, we moved probably half dozen times. And sometimes we moved twice in 1 year as he got promoted and transferred. So we had an opportunity to come to Omaha to become a district manager in Omaha, Nebraska. And it was at that time he thought, okay, we're going to plant our seeds here. I have 4 brothers and a sister, and traveling like that when you're young doesn't make a lot of sense. So he decided to buy into a Goodyear franchise in 1973 here in Omaha, Nebraska. And that's how he started with not only Goodyear, but with Jensen Tire and Auto.
So did you start then, Matt, in 1973 also? Because you were pretty young, right?
I was really young, couldn't drive, swept floors, did my things. And how I got paid, as we all remember, vendors would give you clocks and little things like that, you know.
Yeah.
I had all kind of clocks in my room. I had all kind of things. 15, I just loved it. You know, Valvoline signs, Pennzoil signs. Had a great time.
Oh, that's a great story. It's good pay. I probably didn't have to W-9 on that.
I hear you.
So how did you transition then from sweeping floors, changing tires to a management role at Jensen Tire?
Well, you know, it's like everything else, just like you, John. You start from the bottom and you work yourself up. So we started sweeping floors, started as a tire tech, changed oil, did those kind of things. Went off to college. Went off to college, came back, started back at the bottom again, and had to prove myself to everybody at that time. I think at that time my father may have had 2 stores, but shortly after that, worked myself up through the service department, RSM, or an assistant store manager, service manager, and then eventually a store manager.
Very good, very good. So time frame wise, what year, what is it when maybe you opened your third location?
I would imagine it's probably 75, 76 in that area.
Okay, good. So, Matt, tell me, what are some of the things that you learned from your dad, WR, that you're still keeping the business today?
Well, I think it's his work ethic. I mean, he's a hard worker. When you're running your own store, own your own company, it's open to close. It's not a 9-to-5 job. But he was constantly working. Unfortunately, you missed football games and that kind of thing that I played in, but he was work all the time. Not only that, probably the thing that really I remember, and I've really, my sons now, is that, Matt, this is my dad talking. Matt, if you want to grow in this business, you can't be as good. You got to be better. Meaning you can't be as good as this assistant store manager at this store or this service manager at this store. You must be better. And I've carried that for all these years, and now my sons are the same way.
Great advice, man. Got to be better. I love it. I love it. So in November 1997, I believe you bought your parents out, and you became president and CEO of Jensen Tire and Auto, and you grew the business from 10 locations to 21 locations, and you told me you got several more on the drawing board, and those were all new construction. That's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in a short period of time, my friend. How did you manage all that?
Well, I'll tell you the reason why we had to do that. Obviously, my father carried the paper. I couldn't get a loan from the bank. My father he wanted to get his estate planning taken care of because he wasn't in good health. He had a few heart attacks. But what took place at that time was we had a retailer here in town that had 9 stores, I think, that was bought out from a major company. And I thought at that point in time, we needed to grow in Western Omaha and cut off their flanks where they can't grow beyond us. So we started putting stores up sometimes once a year and sometimes twice a year just to make that happen. Because we didn't want our flanks cut off in Omaha, because between Omaha and Lincoln, it's nothing but farm, corn. So we wanted to cut off our competition before he grew to us, which it worked well. We did a very good job at that. But in the meantime, what took place is that, finding the people, doing the things that you have to do to make the company really run on all 8 cylinders. We really let that go for a while because we needed to grow the company that fast. I felt it was that important to do that, where we didn't have to worry about our competition moving in on us, John.
So are you in charge of opening up all these stores? Who's your project manager on this program?
Well, that's my wife. She handles all those projects. Again, I can't read a blueprint. She built this beautiful corporate office for us too, but I would let Diane know. It obviously was everybody together talking about it, but she's the one that would work with our architect and the construction company and put it all together, and where every light plug needed to be, where everything needed to be anywhere in the store, whether it's air hoses or whatever. She's very good at that kind of thing. So once we built one store, and they're all kind of a same prototype, it was pretty easy. Every other store after that, we added a little bit. We did a couple more things. So right now, when we build stores, it's pretty self-explanatory. We can put them up in a matter of no time.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. By the way, tell Diane when you talk to her that lasagna she made that night, the night I got the speeding ticket in Nebraska from the State Patrol, that it was the best lasagna I've ever had.
I hear you. That was a great time, wasn't it? We had a great time.
It was. So you're very lucky, Matt, to have Diane as a project manager, not only on the new stores, you told me on the remodels also. She's obviously a great partner in life, but also in business.
No doubt. And I'm so glad to have her. It's a big help.
I
don't know if I could work with her in the same office, but you know where I'm coming from. But all in all, I mean, she's a great sounding board.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So there's 3. This is now the 3rd generation of Jensen's in the tire business. Your sons, Mike and Nick, are now involved. They came into the business sort of just like you, from the bottom up, right? Allowing themselves to earn the stripes, so to speak. You must be very proud of them.
I'm so proud. I really, really am. I'm a lucky man to have a couple sons that, first of all, want to be in the business and succeed in the business. There's a lot of owners out there that have kids that run the business, but they really don't, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
These guys do. And I'm very, very fortunate to have them on the team. That's for sure. Okay.
So, Matt, you must be very proud of them.
I'm very proud of my sons. I'm very proud of my wife. I don't know what I'd do without them, Johnny.
Well, you're a blessed man. We're very blessed. I have Mike on the line right now. So, Matt, I'll get back to you shortly. Okay, buddy?
Very good. Thanks.
Hey, Mike, are you there?
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
I'm great, buddy. You're looking good. How are you?
Good. Busy.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. So take me, Mike, when did you get started in the tire business?
Well, I got started probably when I was about 15 years old and started working in the warehouse as far as unloading trailer loads of tires, putting them in the warehouse and so forth. That was before I started driving. Once I was legal age to drive, then I started delivering tires to the stores and so forth. I usually worked on my Christmas breaks, my summers, and eventually turned into when I went off to college, I decided to come back and cut my college off short. So knew what I wanted to do with my life. I got into the business, started doing tires, oil changes, some light duty mechanical work, and just kind of worked up through the ranks from that point where a retail sales manager, which is more of a tire salesman for us. And then, got to the store manager level and kept climbing the ladder.
Awesome. You earned your stripes along the way.
I believe so.
So you're vice president of operation. What does that entail?
So it's kind of a jack of all trades almost. It wears a lot of hats, but to sum it up in a short term, I really focus on how to make the company more efficient, how to make the company more profitable. And that kind of just comes back to, if is there any processes we can implement that helps with that process. I do a lot of dealings with our tire manufacturers. And so I do most of the tire work when it comes to that. A lot of the strategies as far as how we sell tires, how we market them online, making sure we have the tires in stock on hand, how we set up our product screen as far as which tires we want to sell when, and just kind of strategize the best, way to do that.
Great. So you also, I think, head up the mobile service and fleet business, which I believe creates a new customer base for Jensen Tire and Auto. Can you tell me about how that all came about?
Yeah, so it's been kind of my latest venture. It just kind of came about as we want to innovate and start something new in the area and try to get ahead of the game and reach a new customer base. And so we basically ordered 2 vans that can install tires, repair tires on site. And it's allowed us to reach new areas of town where we don't have brick and mortar buildings. It does also help with, the biggest portion of the business is fleet accounts where they're wanting time is money to their fleet. So if I can keep them out of the shops and come straight to them and do their tire work, or if they have an issue where they need me to come fix a tire while they're on a job site, or maybe it's easier for me to install tires while they have their employee working, doing what they need to do. And that helps them out, save some time. So that's really what the focus is. I feel like the industry is going in that direction, and especially in the retail and I guess commercial, it's convenience is a big factor, and nothing's more convenient than you coming to them.
That's really interesting. You got a plumber, electrician, they're out on a job site. They're got a tire down. Rather than screwing around, you send one of your service trucks out there, get them back up on the road. But you're also hitting a new Jensen Tire customer that may be 30 miles away from a store, and you do it right there in their driveway then?
I do. And, even just a customer that is wanting the convenience of, hey, I'm working from home. I really don't want to go sit in a shop, and we come straight to them, come to their driveway, do the tires and leave. So it's a very convenient process, and it's taken off fairly well in the area.
Good. How long have you been doing that now?
Well, we kind of started the idea at the beginning of last year. By the time we got the vans ordered and everything set in place, a lot of the processes that we needed to, there's a learning curve, but it's really been doing pretty well since about October last year.
Okay.
And that's when it really took off. So, I'd say it's officially running for about 6 months, and now we're ready to continue to grow that.
Great. Well, keep up the good work, buddy.
Thank you.
So, Mike, what's one thing, I'm going to ask you this question, I'll ask your brother the same question. What's one thing you learned from your father over the years?
Well, the one thing that comes to mind is kind of what we were talking about a little bit with the mobile division, where you got to stay ahead of the game, you got to innovate, and you always got to be ahead of your competition. And, going back to when Matt was purchasing properties, he always built properties before they were really developed. And he just had that vision where, it just had an innovative vision to me where that always stuck with me. And I always took those principles with me. And so I spent a lot of my time trying to come up with new ideas how to be successful, think outside the box, and really just try to not stick with norms and figure out better ways to do business.
I like it. Think outside the box. That's an old one I used to do at my meetings. That's great. I love it. So, Mike,
Absolutely.
you also work with your brother, Nick. I've got him on the other line. I want to thank you for being on Johnny G and Friends. And I'll hope to see you when I get out to Omaha when you open up another location.
Absolutely. Thank you, Johnny.
Hey, Nick, are you out there?
I'm here, Johnny. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being on Johnny G and Friends.
You bet. You bet.
So how old were you when you got started in the family business? And take me through your whole career like your brother just did.
Well, I started at the same age Mike did, at age 15. And I firmly believe that's the right way to do things because you can learn the business from the ground up. I started, so when I was 15, it was probably around the year 2001. I think that was the Firestone recall year, but that's when I could really remember we were starting off, company was exploding. We were mounting all kinds of 235, 75, 15 RTSs from the Firestone tires. And we had to build a second warehouse. We had to get a second warehouse to be able to hold all these tires. And I can remember it was trial by fire. I was building racks. As a matter of fact, they were used racks from an old tire warehouse, trying to get those to fit together. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of stress. I didn't know if I can remember coming home one night and talking to my dad, saying, I don't know if I can do this, Dad. This just might not be for me. But, here I am many years later. So it was great. From there, I went to University of Nebraska, Lincoln, graduated with a business management degree.
Great.
I did take about one summer off to do some work in Lincoln with some school organizations. I came back, retail sales manager, store manager. I was never a master technician or a service manager, but I could hold my own. Now, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at my hands, but I used to be able to do some of that stuff. From there, district manager, vice president of the retail stores. So it's been a great journey, and I'm fortunate to be able to do it with family members because a lot of families, they can't work together.
Right.
It's not all rosy all the time, but we always get through it. And it sure is fun working with family. So
that's awesome. Great story.
Yeah.
So you're vice president of retail operations. What's a typical day for you, Nick?
Well, you know what it's like dealing with 21 stores, 220 some employees. It's a lot of fun. It can be stressful at times, but what my main duties what I try to do on a daily basis is I'm thankful for the store or my district managers that help me manage the stuff day to day. Thankful for Mike ordering us the tires and setting up some of our retail computer programs, our point of sale system. But really, it's keeping everybody on the same path, same goals. And those goals are, one, to take care of our customers and value the community around us. And it's helping us enable to expand here in the near future, too. So a couple more stores are coming soon. So
awesome.
Yep.
So managing your 21 stores now, maintaining good quality teammates, that's got to be pretty challenging. But you do something very unique with the high schools and the trade schools by establishing grants. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, there's so much to that. I'll kind of give a brief synopsis. Let me talk about the employee portion first, though. Sure. It's so important to take care of our people now. Management and being part of it's changed so much over the last 5 to 10 years. It's so employee focused now, and that's for the better. And some things we've done are give Saturdays off to all of our employees, so we don't work weekends anymore. Wow. Did you know that? Yeah. So that I think we worked week or every Saturday for 49 years at Jensen Tire Auto, and it was a big risk,
It seems to have paid off for us, though. Our employment's better than it's ever been. Our retention rate, I should say, is better than it's ever been. And we're not desperate like everybody else in our area for employees. That's one of the reasons. The other reason we're not, in desperate need of employees or technicians is because what we do with the local trade schools and at the high school level also. So we've developed partnerships. We tailor our programs and our incentives for these kids to the kid. It's not a one size fits all policy, right? So
right.
I'm also a board member at the Metropolitan Community College Foundation, where I can help steer these kids. If they need a grant to go to school, okay, I can point them in the right direction. But the biggest barrier to entry in this business is needing tools for technicians.
Sure.
So a lot of times we'll steer them to get a grant, and then Jensen will come in and incentivize them with a toolbox to get them started. So we found out over time, if you invest in these kids, they'll invest with you. And just today, actually, in our training center in the back of our office, we're putting our second group of technicians through what we call our Jensen Tire Build-A-Tech program. And we train them. It's hands-on, in-depth training, 3 days a week for 6 months. And believe it or not, these kids are getting ASE certifications right after this program's done. And it's really helped us out. So does that sound like a pretty good plan, or what do you think of it, Johnny? I
think it's genius because what you're doing is you're building loyalty there. If there's an employer that I'm going to work for that's ready to invest in me and help me with tools and help me with possibly financial support so that I can start a career, why would I want to go move over to a car dealer because he's going to offer me a couple bucks more an hour? It's
so nice because in this industry it's such an older workforce and a young workforce, and there's nothing in between.
Right.
So before, when we would lose a master technician or technician, it's a fire drill, right? And you're not going to find those guys growing on a tree. So we've decided to just grow them ourselves. And these young kids, that used to be where they would leave like you said, for $2 an hour more, but they also realize, hey, these guys have taken care of me. They've given me the tools. They've given me an opportunity before someone else has. I'm going to stick with them. And you know what? It's working right now. Let's hope it continues to work. But again, you have to always innovate. So the plan may not work in 5 years. It's usually working right now. So.
But that other thing with Saturdays, it's a shocker to me because, I work Saturdays and Sundays. When I worked 17 years in retail, and I worked every Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Yeah. And, but you're now, I think, Tully Tire, Chapel Hill Tire, Chabills, and now you are the fourth podcast where everybody doesn't work Saturdays anymore. I think it's awesome. I really do.
Yeah. And it builds loyalty, and I don't recommend it. If you have a great reputation and you do what you say you're going to do on a daily basis for your customers and your community, I would recommend it to anybody. But you got to do it, and you got to do it with integrity. And you know what? Your customers will always find you. If you provide the service that we all think we provide, if we're as we think we are, the customers will find you. So that's the way we look at it. Now, Johnny, I will tell you, when Mike and I recommended it to Matt, I thought he was gonna throw us out of his office. So you can ask him about that later. I'm sure he thinks we were crazy.
I will. I think we'll have to have a drink in our hands when I ask him.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let's talk about your dad. What's one thing that you learned from your dad?
You have to always outwork. It's the same theme between Mike, I, and Matt. I don't know if I took it a step further. I've kind of lived it to the extreme. I've always made sure I was the best. Now, whether I was the best, I don't know. But I in my head, I work to be the best every single day. But even bigger than that was you got to take care of your people, because we're nothing without our people, right? Yeah. We can make every strategic plan in the world. I can sit at my desk and try to train guys, but unless I'm out there doing it and I believe that we have the best, you're nothing without them. So that's the most valuable thing I've learned in this business from my father.
Totally agree. Mm-hmm. Well, Listen, Nick, I really appreciate you being on Johnny G and Friends. I'm going to go back to your dad right now. So looking forward to seeing you when you open up another store.
You bet. This was fun, Johnny. Thanks.
You got to be pretty proud there, man. Your buttons got to be popping a little bit there. You've done a great job establishing your sons in leadership roles. That's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I'm very, very fortunate.
So they're handling most of the day-to-day activity, business activities. So what is your role as president and CEO today versus 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago, I was wearing all the hats, hiring, firing, traveling the stores. I mean, listen to taking care of customer complaints. I did it all, whereas now it's more of a 30,000 view looking down where I can actually see things that are happening that I can help correct before they become a problem. And I handled all the marketing and advertising. I work with a company out of St. Louis to do all our marketing. So while those guys are working their buns off, I'm looking at a total view above everybody and just get a good feel. Whereas 10 years ago, you really couldn't do it because you're actually working. You didn't have time to evaluate it.
Awesome. So in your opinion today, if you've grown and put stores up very successfully, what's the biggest hurdle you think facing tire dealers today when they're trying to add new locations?
Well, we've kind of talked about already today. The easy thing for me to build stores and find property. That's the easy thing. The hard thing is filling the stores with the right people, training them, and developing the Jensen Tire Auto culture. That's a very important part, as Nick and Mike both talked. That culture is second to none. And like Nick has said, our people, if it wasn't for our people, we wouldn't be here today. So when we hire folks, again, I don't do that anymore. I wouldn't want to do it with this young generation.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this one at our old office. One of my DMs were interviewing a guy. He put the Coke can on his desk. This is my district manager, and was talking on the telephone. Anyway, he walked out. My district manager at the time, the boys were store manager. At the time they hired him to move in the store, it was a cold winter day. He was behind my car, and I saw the steam come up. The guy was taking a leak behind my car.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
The people we have nowadays. Anyway, we fired him before he even got to the store, but that's kind of stuff you're dealing with now. And I mean, it isn't like it once was, Johnny, where a job was a job and you put in 70 hours a week. It's not like that anymore. And I'm so glad I don't have to do that. I'm so glad.
I'm so glad I'm at the age I am too, because there's no way I could work in the corporate world. I just too much stuff there. Yeah, too much stuff.
That's for sure.
So, Matt, your company, Jensen Tire and Auto, is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that.
So tell me, what does that mean to you?
Well, I tell you what, I'm very proud of it. Second and third generation, we all know the second generation very seldom makes it. And the third generation, I mean, chances are you're never going to make a third generation. So in that case, I'm very, very proud of what we've done. I'm glad to be a part of the community. Our brand is so great here in Omaha and the surrounding areas that it's a good time. Enjoy it. I really do. It's just a lot of fun. And I'm so proud of my sons and obviously the company, what we've done and what we're going to do.
Well, Matt, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your hectic schedule, and both Mike and Nick for being on Johnny G and Friends. I really appreciate it. And I look forward, when you have your next grand opening, invite me. I'll come and bring my periwinkle purple jacket. And
there you go.
We'll go have a blast together. All right, my friend?
Johnny, I appreciate everything. I really do. Thanks.
All right, man. Take care. Have a great day.
You too. Take care, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
You don't need magic to disappear for a while, because Firestone tires were built for ticking off mile markers. Firestone Destination LE3 tires. For 70,000 miles of exploring. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.